Those vegan guys. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm Jason. And together we are Those Vegan Guys. But if you're watching the channel, you already know that, don't you? And we would like to give a massive, big, lovely northern welcome to Lenka, who is a representative of F.A.R.S, F.A.R.S, Farm Animal Rescue Sanctuary. That's right, isn't it, Lenka?
Well done. You've said it bang on. So
let's just ask you some basic questions first, Lenka. I know that you kind of control and take charge of the Instagram and the Facebook for F.A.R.S. And I know that the organisation relies heavily on public donations, really. And especially in winter, and especially with the financial kind of way that things are at the moment. How many animals are at the sanctuary kind of at the moment?
So I don't have the exact number for you because that obviously changes all the time. But roughly there's about 450 plus animals. Wow. 90% of them are all sheep. And then we also have 4 pigs, we have got 4 chickens, we've got loads of pigeons as well, and we've got loads of feral cats, we've got 2 bunnies, and yeah, animals sort of just, you know, pop up all the time. So it's hard to keep up with the number.
How do they come to F.A.R.S?
So there's different ways that animals come from, and we tend to be contacted pretty much on a daily basis when there is an animal in need, facing a slaughter, or you know, looking for a new home for whatever reason. Sometimes it might be just owners not being able to look after their animals anymore, or somebody coming across an injured animal in a field. You know, there's different ways. So we try to help as many as we can. We are kind of at our full capacity at the moment, but what we usually try to do if we can't find a home for an animal at F.A.R.S, what we try to do is connect with some of the other sanctuaries and obviously pass on the message. So just because we can't help sometimes doesn't mean that we can't find a home for the animal in the end. And we've got some amazing examples. You know, I was in touch with a lady from another sanctuary this morning, and we were actually contacted a couple of months ago if we could take on a cow, but we don't have cows in our sanctuary. We can't sort of accommodate for them. So we got in touch with other sanctuary and they managed to place her. So they kind of gave me a little update this morning. So it kind of just, it's a huge community.
So not only are you doing amazing work in terms of rescuing and looking after all of those animals, 400 plus, but you're also incredibly well networked as a sanctuary in terms of being able to, you know, hopefully provide opportunities if you can't accommodate, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And this is, you know, this is the huge power of social media. We all know that there's so many negatives of social media, but in our particular case, you know, growing and spreading awareness of the work that we do and all of the other sanctuaries is vital to saving more and more animals. So, yeah.
I've quite enjoyed, I found just a few days ago, actually, I found the F.A.R.S fundraising group on Facebook. And I'm just, I really like that. There are kind of raffles, so you get these big prizes donated, like food baskets and treat things, blah 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 blah, and people can buy tickets, and then it gets drawn, and it's a great way to raise funds. By the way, any links that we mention during our chat will be pinned in the, not only in the description of the video, but in the first comment down there. So if you do want to go and have it, and that includes the website, the Facebook page, the Instagram page, the fundraising page, and the Twitter. We'll put the links to them all.
Thank you.
Just because we think that the work that you do is incredibly important. Yeah. Massively important.
The work and the message.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and you know what you've just mentioned with the F.A.R.S fundraising page is what we try to do is, You know, we appreciate that loads of people donate to us. We appreciate that we constantly ask for donations and people for money. And don't get us wrong, you know, it's hard to constantly keep on asking, because with so many animals, the funds run out so quickly. You know, the amount that we need to raise monthly is insane. And because we don't receive any government funding, and we just purely rely on people's donations. So what we try to do with the F.A.R.S fundraising page is, rather than just taking, we're trying to give something back. So we find that the raffle is a really good way of, you know, people buying tickets, but then they have obviously got a chance to win. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, because we all like our chance to, people are all going to won the lottery and the tombola, and so it's integrating fundraising with those fun things that people like. Buy your ticket, get a chance to win.
And I think as well, having as part of my job, I'm involved with fundraising, and there's no doubt that it's been a really tough year. Well, a really tough 18 months to 2 years for anybody that has to fundraise, because, you know, people's purses and wallets have been so tight. So to anybody that can even spare, you know, a quid or a couple of quid.
Absolutely.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does. And you know what? It sounds like such a cliche when we say £1 goes a long way, when we need £10,000 a month just to run the sanctuary, right? So, you know, it's the same message that we say, you know, what difference do I make as an individual if I just contribute £1? But when you think of all of the followers that we have across all of our platforms, you know, so I think that we reached to, roughly from the top of my head, about 12,000 people across our Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as obviously some of our website followers. And when you think about it that way, even if 50% of all of those people gave £1 a month, you know, majority of the costs of the sanctuary could be covered. So, you know, you can't ever underestimate the power of you as an individual and us as a whole. So
incredible. And thank you for Lenka for kind of quantifying that, because I think that's really important in terms of not just kind of helping people to understand how much is required, but also for your honesty and your openness and transparency in terms of that. And I suppose linked in with that, it might be nice to talk a little bit about just the level of graft involved and the level of work, you know. I mean, how many people are involved? You know, what do your days look like in terms of actually supporting the animals?
No, absolutely. I mean, I could talk forever. Are you ready for this? There's loads of people involved, but I think when you think of having a sanctuary, you know, in the ideal world, everybody always has this image of a zoo-like sanctuary, you know, where it's all pretty and dry and green, and it's very far from reality. I think that, you know, loads of our followers and visitors that have visited even, you know, any of our past events, some of them kind of, you know, once they come in and they see the reality, you know, of our daily lives, not mine because I only sort of go every Saturday, but the main guys who work there every single day looking after and taking care of these animals is incredible. So we sort of have a core team which is 3 people, and they are there day in, day out, taking care of these animals. And as we were talking about sort of the pandemic briefly, you know, when COVID hit and obviously our staff was affected and loads of volunteers couldn't come in because they were trying to protect the key workers. And those guys didn't have a day off. I mean, again, from the top of my head, I can't remember, but they went for about 6 months without a day off, you know, and it was constant. And from my perspective, you know, I do the social media, I do all of my work from my couch, from home. And I usually just go to give a little helping hand on a Saturday if I can, or I'm there to take photos. But when you see those guys working day in, day out, you know, carrying all of the heavy stuff, it's not easy, you know. The mud comes up to our knees at the moment, you know, and we've had a recent fundraiser to raise money for mud controlling slabs, if you like. And we managed to raise £2,000, which is incredible. And we've placed the order on Wednesday. So we are expecting the order to be delivered on Wednesday just coming. So that's incredible. And thank you to everyone who's donated and made it happen. That was, no, so yes, I think this was, the fundraiser went live, I think before Christmas. And it finished sometime in January.
About like an event that was actually at the sanctuary. I think it was November.
That was end of November. That's right. Yes.
So that's one thing to keep your eye out for, viewers. Check out the website, because there are kind of open events where you can actually visit. You can't visit all the time. It's not like an open door policy.
That's right.
But there are events where you can visit and you can help. And if you can, please do. So tell us, where are you located?
So we are located at the moment in Stratford-upon-Avon. It's a farm called Woolly Park Farm, and it's not in the heart of Stratford-upon-Avon. It's actually, I would say, maybe about a 10-minute drive. It's still Stratford postcode, if you like, but it's a small village called Wolverton. And it's kind of not in the middle of nowhere, but it's surrounded by fields. And I believe that is Carol's, who's the founder, by the way, who, you know, we need to give a massive shout out to, because she's the lady behind it all. And she's the person who made F.A.R.S happen. So this is her either fourth or fifth home. So she's had loads of homes before. It all started back in 1988 in Hertfordshire. Then she relocated to Cambridgeshire, then came back to Hertfordshire, and then she made the move to Stratford. So, yes, it's been going on for the past 30 years.
I watched a very short video of her on the Twitter page. It's pinned to the Twitter page, telling her own short story about how the animals had really helped her to get through two incredibly huge losses that happened incredibly close to each other. I would advise, rather than us going into detail about that, because I'd like to keep this upbeat, but I would recommend absolutely, which is why I'm putting all the links down there, that people please check out the Instagram, the Twitter, the Facebook, and look into the history of this amazing place a bit more, because the strength of the founder is incredible.
Absolutely.
Acknowledged.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really good as well, and for us to be able to encourage viewers and our subscribers and everyone to take a look and explore and find out more. I mean, obviously we can only, as you said, Lenka, we can only cover so much in this chat. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of places that are very deserving of support all over the planet, but just the sheer amount of animals that you're working with and rescuing and looking after every single day. And of course, when you're doing something like that, particularly as a volunteer, there's no real days off. Those animals need looking after and feeding every single day.
Absolutely.
So
they don't know the difference from a Monday to a Saturday. You know, they have no idea whether it's Christmas or bank holiday. So
incredible.
Now, this is a very important question, are there any divas among the animals?
Talking about a diva. We've got one diva. You might have seen her on our social media. I think that she's picked up quite a lot of attention over the past 2 weeks. She is called Mandy, Big Mandy. And I don't know whether you guys watched the program This Country.
Oh, I don't.
If you haven't, you must. Honestly, if you haven't, you must, because you're missing out. There was a character called Big Mandy, and she was played by, and I will need to look her up. Can I look her up?
Yeah. Feel free to look her up. So is Mandy a sheep?
So Mandy is a sheep.
Big Mandy.
Big Mandy, This Country.
Love that.
Ashley Maguire.
Right.
So Big Mandy in this country was played by Ashley Maguire. And, you know, so many people ask us, how do you think of names for so many animals? How do you, you know, and we always try to come up with something original, something that the animals remind us of. And when Mandy, I don't even know who gave her this name, but the expression of her face and the toughness, she's such a tough cookie, Big Mandy. We're talking about our sheep, right? She's so loving. She wants attention, but the minute you're not looking, she's behind you, trying to headbutt you, trying to get you on the floor. You know, not in a bad way, but she's such an attention seeker, and she's a real celebrity, and she's the biggest diva, 100%. And so when we shared it across our social media, we tagged Ashley Maguire in our post, and you know, it just caused an absolute chaos at one point. And the girl who runs the fan page for this country, she had this tattoo. It was like a stick-on tattoo, and she said, I've been trying to do something with it for such a long time, but I couldn't think of anything, you know, how to raise money for someone. And she said, this is just the perfect opportunity. So she managed to raise £30 for this stick-on tattoo from Mandy this country to donate to our sanctuary. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So have you, Lenka sent us some pictures, by the way, so at points throughout this chat, we will be putting pictures. You'll probably have already seen some. So we will insert a picture of Big Mandy. Yeah, so you can see kind of. So she's like the queen of the sheep then?
She is the queen. Yeah, she's the queen. We think she's a little bit confused with who she is still. I don't think she's fully figured out who she is, because she's kind of trying to dominate, you know, all of the females. So we don't know what's going on there, but
Excellent.
She's funny, and she's got a very distinctive look. She just looks constantly angry. You know, she rolls her lip up all the time, and she has got this tiny little like bump on the top of her head that she headbutts with, and like she will scratch your leg for hours and hours. And I come home and I take my trousers off and I'm full of bruises. But she's so sweet. She's so sweet, and everybody loves her. Like, that's the best thing about it. Everybody who comes in and meets her absolutely loves her.
We've often said this thing, Lenka, and it's I think it's quite difficult particularly as adults, and the way that you describe some of the animals, and obviously the relationship that develops there with those animals. It's a shame that more adults don't take the opportunity to kind of be around animals or you know, and connect with them in some way, because I think that's something that's really lacking in the world, and it might, you know, in some way help people for it to resonate, and for people to connect more with animals, and then think, hang on a minute, why am I eating?
Well, sheep are one of the forgotten animals, aren't they? It's like people like to say, oh, I love animals, I'm a real animal lover, but then they eat chickens, turkeys, sheep, pigs, cows, because they're not important. And it's like, no, they are important. They are often as bright and intelligent and love fun as your dog or your cat. And it's just because we live in a culture where those are animals for consumption. These are the animals we respect and love.
Pets.
And what we do as vegans is go, nope, these are the animals we respect and love.
And that's the decision that someone has made one day, you know, and that's just what we've been taught, since we've been little. And when you are at the sanctuary, you see the real characters in real life. It's incredible, because, you know, you talk about dogs and you talk about sheep, and I think, you know, we even admitted it, you know, as volunteers. We said, you know, we once used to think of sheep as just these big fluffy things in the fields that just eat grass all day, that have got no brain, you know, and it's so not true. When you get to meet them, you know, from the distance, they might all look the same. You know, they are all these white clouds that just eat grass and follow each other. But when you meet them personally, you know, every single one of them is an individual, and every single one of them is so different. And again, when we talk about dogs, we have got a sheep, which we absolutely adore. Again, he's one of the, again, key characters that all of our visitors absolutely love. And Paul, as you mentioned, in our last open day in November, people absolutely fell in love with him. His name is Amos, and he's this tiny little sheep that only comes up to our knees. He's tiny. And he is the most perfect example of, you know, sheep being exactly the same like dogs. He will follow us everywhere. He will, you know, you will go into a field and there's hundreds of sheep everywhere, and you call his name and he will run up to you from the top of the field. He comes in for a cuddle. He follows you. You know, when we have a little walk around the field at the end of the day, just to make sure that all of the sheep, you know, are okay and there's nobody stuck anywhere in the bushes, he doesn't follow the herd. He comes with us, and sometimes it's so funny because you can tell, you know, sheep are followers. They just follow their herd. And he's kind of sometimes like in between, and he's thinking, oh, do I go with them or do I go with the humans? You know, and he comes and he follows us, and he has a little play, and he's just the most adorable little boy. So
it's brilliant, isn't it?
Have you sent a picture of him as well?
I'll send a picture of him.
Already been on the screen. Fabulous. That's fantastic. Now, if I can work out how to do it, I've never uploaded a vlog to YouTube as a fundraiser.
Okay.
But you can somehow. So I'm going to try and do that with this.
Okay. Thank you. That's so sweet.
But well, here's the thing. If obviously right now we're talking about F.A.R.S, but what I do want to say to our viewers is that if Farm Animal Rescue Sanctuary is a bit far away from you and you want to look for something nearer to you, just Google Animal Sanctuary and the town that you live in.
And support, absolutely, to support their locals. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah,
because I do believe that there is such incredible work that goes on in F.A.R.S and many other sanctuaries across the world, really, and it's so easy to forget about the importance of that work and the cost of that work. So I just want to kind of promote that people look into because there could be a sanctuary right near you.
Yeah, totally.
Volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't actually, when I first started searching into sanctuaries, F.A.R.S wasn't the first one. You know, the first one that came up was a different sanctuary where I went, and I didn't even look past it. And then it was only like a few months later, I heard that there was this sanctuary in Stratford, and I just thought, why did I never come across them? So, yeah, definitely.
So, can I ask you a personal question, Lenka?
Of course you can.
What makes you want to do what you do for F.A.R.S?
What makes me do? Well, you know, I think that we all have one thing in common, and it might not be all vegans that follow your channel and watch this particular video.
Yeah.
But, you know, to me, it's just, you know, we all know how tough and how hard it is to face the everyday world of people constantly judging us, asking us questions. We feel like aliens, you know, and for me, it's not just the fact that I am helping animals that are seen as commodities. You know, I'm also part of this amazing community of people who are like-minded, who are there for the same reason, who are looking for somebody like me, or, you know, people where we can all come together and just to feel like a family and feel normal. It's so lovely when you come to the sanctuary, and we are, by the way, completely vegan run sanctuary. You know, the whole core team is vegan, including Carol. There are obviously people that maybe just dip in and, you know, dip out. We've got some people for Duke of Edinburgh. We've got, you know, people coming in and helping out as and when. But our core team is completely vegan. And when you come into the sanctuary and we all meet up in this caravan, it's just so nice to talk about, you know, talk openly and not having to be careful of what you say, and being respected, and being able to have a coffee with non-dairy milk, and had treats, and everybody says, "Oh, what have you got today? And what have you got today?" And it's just so lovely. And I struggled mentally when I was very overwhelmed. I've always been a massive animal lover, and being vegetarian for 7 years, then going into veganism, I found it very overwhelming and very emotional. And I think that you can guys relate, right? Because we do it for the animals. And let me just take a breath. I just get really passionate about this part.
Yeah, we do too. We do too. Completely get it. Completely get it. It is. I'm going to talk for a minute and just let you compose yourself, Lenka. It was, and it still happens. It still happens sometimes where I can't handle it. I can't handle thinking about who I used to be. Not that I hate him. Wasn't his fault. The things he ate, the things he did, the way he looked at animals, he'd been taught all of that, and I had to unlearn that. I had to unlearn all of that. But yeah, I get it. Sometimes we all get massively overwhelmed because we want to do more, which is why this vlog is so important today.
Yeah.
Because giving £1 a month to F.A.R.S or some other sanctuary, you're doing one thing more. You're already doing something wonderful just by being vegan. If you are vegan, or if you're working towards veganism, you're already doing something wonderful. £1 a month towards a farm animal sanctuary, and you, like Lenka said at the start, if thousands of people did that, those months wouldn't be so hard.
Absolutely. And that's how we have to think of it. We, again, I've already covered this, but don't think of it as being that one person. Think of it as all of those people like you coming together. And there is power in numbers, and this is the best example. So
yeah, amazing. And it's great that your passion comes through, your emotions, and I'm really glad that you touched on that, Lenka, in terms of actually when you're transitioning and you're getting onto the vegan journey, there's huge positives, but of course there's also difficulties and hardships, and just humans being humans and being often incredibly cruel. And they can even be the people who you've considered up until that point, your nearest and dearest, can be really quite difficult and cruel.
I think that is actually the toughest part. Thanks, Jason, that you've mentioned it, because I think it depends on what makes you take that next step and make that decision, because not everybody might feel the same as I do. My partner's vegan, and he's so much stronger in that perspective, and he's so good at arguments. When somebody goes back at him, I kind of just go into, I either freak out and I shout, or I just burst out crying because I can't handle the emotion. And so sometimes I just think, oh, I wish I could be a little bit more like him. But something that I find very difficult is your closest friends and your closest family. That's really hard, because if you know how I feel or you feel, and then that your family and your closest friends are supporting that, technically, that's something that I really, really struggle with.
But it can be really difficult. I'm going to tell you a little personal story now. Jason's parents have made incredible leaps and bounds towards veganism, and they're of an age.
That's fair to say.
They're of an age, bless them both, but they've embraced so much veganism because they watch so much of our channel. However, my mum will eat vegan food. I take her meals down sometimes and just say, I've made this gardener's pie with lentils, or I've made a soup, or whatever. And she'll eat that and she'll really enjoy it. And I love my mother. She is one of my best friends. Yeah. And she is, of course, of a certain age. In fact, she's 80 now. But I went down a couple of nights ago, and it's just as part of conversation, I'll always say to her, what have you had for your dinner? Because I like to know she's eating well. And she said, oh, I just had a bacon muffin. And there have been times when I've said, I tell you what, in future, don't tell me. But now I just kind of, I can't force her to be anyone other than who she is.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to love and respect her. She's my mother.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's difficult knowing that she still sees animals as commodities.
Yeah.
In some ways, but I just can't. And I'm one of those vegan guys, and this is my mum.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
no, and I totally get you. You know, it's almost like you have to stop not wasting your energy where you know that it's pointless, but you know, using that energy in a different way.
Yeah.
And don't waste your time. Like I said, I just get upset over things. So what I try to do is I try to cut it out. If I know that I'm not going to reach this person, I'm not even trying to attempt it, you know, and I save it for somebody who's happy for me to lead on a conversation, you know, and open a conversation. And that's, I think, how it should be. We should educate people in a polite way.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
It's very, very hard because, you know, people say that vegans come across preachy. What they have to realize is we're not doing it for ourselves. I don't benefit from being vegan. I don't, you know, it doesn't benefit my life in any way. You know, I am talking for animals that can't talk for themselves. And so what's selfish about it? I'm speaking on behalf of somebody else. Yeah. So I think that's a massive misconception.
Absolutely. But I think also it took me a long time to kind of own this as well. I used to be very defensive over eating meat. And when I was vegetarian for 20 years before my 8 years of veganism, when friendly, nice, compassionate vegans gently tried to tell me, Paul, please look into the dairy industry. Paul, please look into the egg industry. And I'd be like, oh, I'm fine. It says happy eggs on the box. It says it right there.
Yeah.
You know, and I was So when people defend themselves now, I do understand that it comes from a place of cognitive dissonance. It comes from a place often of protecting your ego, because none of us like to be told what to do, even if it's good for us.
Yeah, 100%. And we all know it. We all know it.
Yeah.
Whilst we're talking about, obviously we've touched on, and you've said a large amount of the animals at the sanctuary are sheep. I'm also just curious, and I'm sure some of our subscribers and viewers are also curious to know, just briefly, what other animals do you look after at the sanctuary?
So we do have 4 pigs. We have got a huge George. We call him Big George. If you saw the size of him, it's so difficult to show it in photos. It's so difficult. When you actually stand next to him, I've never seen anything this big in my life. You could drive him. He's the size of a car. He is absolutely huge. I think that there is actually one photo where there's a few visitors standing around him, and it's just, I've never seen a pig of his size in my life. So he's absolutely beautiful. We have got Penny, who it was only last year lost her partner, George, who was also called George. Then we have got Wilma, who's got she's another diva. It depends on, you know, what day it is and whether she gets out of bed, you know, in the right way. And then we have got Toby. So Toby is one of the animals that I've sent you as well. And just to cover on Toby, Toby is actually part of our sponsorship as well. So I'll cover those later. But Toby's story, Toby was found by this guy who happened to walk past some kids, some young lads, and they were throwing something about, and the guy thought it was a ball, but it wasn't. It was a tiny little piglet.
Oh.
And he felt sorry for him, and he asked them whether he could have him, and they wanted money. So he happened to give them all of the money that he had on him, and, you know, luckily they gave him to him. So then he brought Toby into F.A.R.S. So Toby was only tiny. I've sent you a few photos where he was, honestly, he was this big. And this is 4 years ago. This was in 2017, and Toby's huge now. I mean, he's not huge in terms of George wise. He's not as tall, but he's just very broad. He's very broad. Yeah, he drags his belly on the floor. But he's so lovely, and he absolutely loves bananas, and he just walks around and he loves a little cuddle and a stroke. So yeah.
And the thing about these animals, we have to reiterate to people that don't know what happens at a sanctuary, these animals will live their natural lives there at the sanctuary. They will be given medical care when needed. They will be fed and cleaned and looked after every day by people, and they will live out their natural lives. There is no end point. There is no slaughterhouse.
No.
There is no horrific ending for them. That's what a sanctuary is. It's sanctuary.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I love the thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Tell us more about the sponsorship.
So we've got sponsorships. You can find those on our website. So you can sponsor an animal for 12 months. And from what Jason was asking, what animals we have got different type of animals that you can sponsor depending on, whether you love them all or whether you prefer a sheep or a pig or, we've got a sponsorship. I'm not sure whether it's still on there, but it was called the hen party. And you could sponsor a whole group of hens.
Amazing.
So you basically sponsor an animal. You receive a lovely card with the story, and I think that you can sort of up it. You can either get the standard sponsorship or you can get the sponsorship plus, which kind of also gives you that little extras and part of our merchandise. So we also do merchandise on our website as well, where you can buy some beautiful items like mugs and hoodies and t-shirts and calendars and Christmas cards and things like that. So and that helps massively. So when you think of the £30, the basic sponsorship, it's only £30 a year. So that breaks into £2.50 a month. So that's just your standard sandwich for your lunch, really. But it helps massively. And what it does, instead of a one-off donations, which are equally as important, it's the monthly income or the yearly income that secures our funds and helps us massively going forward. So
yeah. Oh, thank you, Lenka, for sharing that and kind of so succinctly kind of explaining it for us and for our viewers and everything, because that just makes complete sense. What's really heartwarming for me as well is the fact that you've got people involved, obviously, that are helping out, people who are volunteering and everything. But I think as well, one of the big things around fundraising and being able to fund looking after all of these animals is kind of what we alluded to at the start of the chat today, is that consistency, is that the people there every day have got that ability to rely on those people that are like, hey, this is a sponsorship and it's for a year and it's guaranteed. We know that that money's coming in. We can rely on that. And it allows you some flexibility, presumably, as an organisation and as a sanctuary. It allows you to plan ahead and think about, like what you said about, sorting out and fixing how muddy it is in certain areas. Like that takes planning, and there's funds involved in having to be able to do that.
Well, when you think about it, a massive piece of land with lots of different buildings and up to 400 animals.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like you just think about running your home, your tiny home. Things go wrong. The kettle
is constant.
The window cracks. The
Yeah.
garden needs doing. Imagine that on a massive scale.
And let's not beat around the bush either. The sanctuary is a sanctuary, but we've kind of already talked about it in detail, just in terms of the sheer numbers of animals. This is not a tiny little village petting zoo with 3 ducks and 2 goats. This is a mammoth operation daily that must take huge amount of coordination and management. I absolutely salute every single.
And me. This is why I wanted to do this chat, because I want to, and maybe we will chat to other sanctuaries in the future. But because I had been personally impacted by seeing the story of the founder, and by seeing the work that goes on there and all the beautiful pictures of the animals on Instagram, it was like, okay, we've got Veganuary over with now. We've done the shopping vlogs. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty. This is another part of vegan life. It isn't just abstaining from animal use and consumption.
Yeah.
It's helping to support those places that feed and support and house
Absolutely
these animals that have been lucky enough to be saved, because far too many aren't.
Sadly, yeah. And one of the things we talk about quite a lot on our channel, Lenka, is a lot of our subscribers, and particularly the new subscribers that have come through over the last month or two, is being vegan and all of the many different varieties of activism. And we kind of said it before, it's like being vegan often is enough, but if you're not necessarily a confident or comfortable person in terms of maybe going and doing a vigil at a slaughterhouse or a cube of truth, or you know, this is another type of activism that saves the animals directly, and actually, as we've said, financially is a lot less than you would think it is. It is the equivalent of going to Boots and buying a vegan sandwich off the shelf, or anywhere else.
Or you can do that daily or a few times a week. This is a month.
Yeah.
£5 a month.
Yeah. But I would even like to extend on that, you see, that you don't have to necessarily donate. What you can do is, you know, even from a perspective of a volunteer, you know, you can get in touch with your local sanctuaries, which I highly recommend, because not only what we've already covered, it helps you mentally. If you find it mentally really difficult, you know, to be a vegan, this is the place to be. It heals you. You know, I can't describe when I'm at the sanctuary. It's like, I just want the week to go. So then I get to my Saturday. So I get the time to spend it with the animals, because you are in a moment, you're not being judged by anyone. You kind of just breathing it all in. And honestly, it's magical. It's absolutely magical. But what you can also do is get in touch with these local sanctuaries and, you know, fill out their volunteering forms, or just ring them and ask if you can give a helping hand. And you don't necessarily have to live anywhere near. We get contacted quite often where people want to come and help us, which is incredible, but they live very far away, so they can't commit to come and, you know, help out on a weekly basis. But what you can do is you can do stuff like social media. You can, you know, we have got so many volunteers from different backgrounds. We've got accountants, we have got, you know, people from retail, we have got carers, we've got every single skill can be utilized at these sanctuaries. And you can work and help from the comfort of your own home, even if you're just sharing the content, you know. So even we've got some amazing people on our social media who are constantly there. We do a post and they immediately repost it to somewhere else. And again, it's using the power of the social media to spread our message, to spread the awareness. And the more people we can reach, the more funds we can eventually get, you know. And it's the small, you know, it's the small things that you think that you make in that don't make any difference is what actually has a massive impact. So I highly, highly encourage people to volunteer.
Ah, Lenka, that's brilliant, and thank you for saying that. And I think you make a really, really good point there, in that actually there could be champions and ambassadors anywhere in the world, and sometimes just something as simple as, we say it on our channel all the time, don't we? Just something as simple as an interaction, a like, a share.
Absolutely.
You know, it could be somebody in Japan that sees something on your social media and shares it, and suddenly that seed is planted, that connection has been made.
And you don't have to donate monetarily. If you do something creative, if you're a painter or a knitter or a sewer or a tie-dyer,
a crocheter,
and you want to donate an item that can then be raffled off in the F.A.R.S fundraising group,
exactly,
you can do that. There's so much you can do. This is our first port of call to say, we see you. We appreciate the incredible work you all do. We know how important it is, and we want to share that with other people.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
And honestly, I am so grateful. I was so excited and partially quite nervous as well. But at the same time, I was thinking, what am I nervous for? You know, this is my passion. This is what F.A.R.S represents.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, and just talking to somebody who just knows your language, you know, not particularly because I'm not English, but you know what I mean, the vegan language. It's just incredible. So
Can I ask you, by the way, about your name? Is it Russian,
I'm
Ukrainian?
Czech. I'm Czech.
Czech.
I'm Czech.
Yeah, beautiful name, by the way. I love the name, Lenka.
Thank
Gorgeous.
you. Thank you. I'm Czech, where, you know, our nation isn't the most vegan friendly. I think, if anything, it's the complete opposite. So it's been a real journey, but
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it, Lenka? I think in the journey that we all go on, not just as vegans ourselves, but the journey in trying to help spread the message and encourage other people, we're up against it in terms of history and culture and society, and how people have eaten for generations, and that as human beings, for some reason, many of us are fixated on, well, culturally we've always done this, so we must continue that way of living, and we're holding on to this thing from 100 years ago or 500 years ago because it's culturally significant to us, but it's hurting and killing the animals.
Yeah, but history's changing, because let's not forget, it was not too long ago, it was presumed that cavemen survived mainly on a diet of meat.
Yes.
And then what's happened is they've actually found out that it was actually starchy foods. It was root vegetables. It was they caused our brains to grow.
Yeah.
Not meat. We only ate meat when it was winter and we couldn't find any crops.
Yeah.
You know, meat was a fallback. It wasn't a core thing.
Well, you know,
and now we've discovered that we don't need it at all.
I'm surprised, to be honest, that it took scientists and people in the know that long to figure it out, because quite frankly, if I put myself in the position of being a cave person, I don't really like the idea of going out with a stick trying to take down a woolly mammoth.
Well, and sleep in a cave, why not?
So yeah, I'd be all about the root veg, dig up some out of the ground, if I'm lucky, get it on the fire, cook it up, eat it.
Sweet potatoes.
Job's done.
Sweet potatoes all the way.
Exactly.
Sorry. Right. So we've almost chatted for 50 minutes.
Wow. That's gone so quick. I'm telling you, I could talk all day. There is one thing that I would love to add, and it's just a personal message from me. And I think that I speak on behalf of you guys and every vegan for the animals, and our sanctuary, of course, as well. But I just want to say that if you are an animal lover in any way, if you are vegan or you are not a vegan, and you just love your cat and you love your dog and they are your absolute best friend, if you've got that love within you and you are capable of loving one animal, you are capable of loving them all.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if you already love a certain animal, you are halfway there. You've got that in you. So just expand on it. Just open your heart, open your eyes, and open your mind. And then it will, I think, all naturally happen. You know, it's all a journey for us. But I just highly encourage you to follow your inner voice and how you feel, and it will kind of all happen for you.
Absolutely.
That is a beautiful way to end this chat, I think. So Lenka, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this chat today. I think it's a really important thing that we need to talk about more. It's crucial, essential work. This is frontline work as well.
Yeah.
Right here. So to everybody, all of you that volunteer and that work your asses off down at F.A.R.S to make sure that the animals are looked after, thank you from all of us.
Thank
And
you.
as I've said to everybody, we'll put all the links down there, both in the description and in the first comment, which will be pinned. This video has probably been a fundraiser, I hope, if I've been able to set that up. If I haven't worked that out, please go and send £1, send a £5, send a £10 if you can. And let's celebrate the work that places like F.A.R.S do, because they're saving animals and letting them live their lives
every day.
And that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
thank you so much as well, guys. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for listening to me rambling on for so long.
It's been a gorgeous chat. It really has.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Lenka. It has.
So we'll say our online goodbye here, and then if you just hang around for a second, then so we can say a proper goodbye to you. Want to say thank you all so much for watching. We will see you again very, very soon. And until then, as always, please be excellent to yourselves and each other. And we'll end it with my usual bye, loves. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.